begin. The speaker who will be moving up to the other podium is Chandra Ewing. Please.
Thank you. So good evening. My name is Sinyangwe, co-founder of Campaign Zero, a national organization focused on police accountability. We have launched the first comprehensive review of police union contracts around the country in the 100 largest cities. Of the 81 cities where we got their police union contracts, Austin was in the group of 6 cities that had the least accountable contract in the country. And let me go into why. Austin's police union contract, as you've discussed a little bit earlier, the 180-day rule, allowing officers to escape accountability because of a mere technicality about how long that investigation took place or when the police chief was notified of it. We've seen provisions in this contract that do a number of other things that are harmful for police accountability at a time when so many people are feeling unsafe because of police interactions that they've had or that they've witnessed. We see in this contract through the enabling of the citizens' oversight structure that it limits the structure to not having subpoena power, not having the power to discipline officers. These are powers that civilian review boards across the country have, whether it's in San Francisco or in Oakland. Atlanta has the power to subpoena officers. We have Miami-Dade has the power to subpoena officers. So many civilian review boards and structures have this power, and yet in this contract, it actually prohibits the Citizens Oversight Board from having that power. We see in this contract the erasure and reduction of evidence of misconduct, whether it is evidence of suspensions, 1, 2, or 3 days, reducing the written reprimand, and preventing the public from having access to them. Altogether, we looked at 6 different categories and ways in which police union contracts can be harmful to and undermine police accountability, and Austin had all 6 of those issues. So I'm here today to talk about what an alternative could be, where instead of spending $80 million over 5 years on a police union contract to increase benefits and pay to a police department that is already the highest paid of any other department in the state, you have an opportunity to be a leader in this space of standing up for police accountability and transparency and demanding something better. Demanding that Austin lead, not only in terms of accountability, not only in terms of civilian oversight, but also leading in terms of understanding what the priorities are and how best to achieve them. If the priority is safety, the research literature is quite clear that the best approach to achieving that is not investing more in police. A study from Patrick Sharkey just came out that showed that every 10 additional nonprofit organizations, community organizations working on community safety, were correlated with a 9% reduction in the murder rate and a 6% reduction in the violent crime rate. With that $80 million, you could invest $800,000 in 20 organizations over that 5-year window. That would have a substantially higher impact on public safety than investing that money in a police union contract that is still unaccountable.
Alderwoman, you have donated time from Matt Wallace. Is Matt Wallace here? Okay, you have an additional minute.
Thank you. Wonderful.
What are your names? Amanda Mills. Okay. Just her? All right, you have 2 more minutes.
Great. So as I was saying, this is an opportunity to lead. Number 1, to lead in terms of achieving public safety in an evidence-based fashion that invests in community approaches, that invests in mental health response and substance abuse prevention, that invests in crisis intervention, and that does not invest in continue to expand an approach that frankly is not as driven by data and actually what works. Second, when we talk about civilian oversight, we looked at many of the changes that were proposed here that we just heard, and so many of them are just small compared to what we've seen so many other cities do. When you look at the data on community oversight, we talk about the need to have this Citizens Oversight Board, but that board is so ineffective and powerless that it really does not add value to the current situation. When you look at the data, 170 complaints of police misconduct were levied in 2015, the most recent year available. And we found that only 7% of those complaints were sustained. And of those, only 3 complaints resulted in a suspension of the officer. Out of the 170 complaints, less than 2%. Now, obviously, 170 is probably a severe undercount because of how difficult it is to actually file a complaint. So what we see is a structure that has been created that actually does not achieve the goal of independently investigating, does not have the power to subpoena, does not have the power to actually ensure a transparent and accountable process that is civilian-driven to ensure accountability. And so you really have a few options here. One, it could be to really push back on this current negotiated contract and demand a contract that is a leader in the space, a contract that is accountable, the most accountable contract in the country, that not only removes the problematic provisions, but ensures a civilian oversight process that can lead this country in terms of power, in terms of the power that invests in community to get to the truth about what happened and ensure that accountability happens as a result of police misconduct. You have the option of leading in terms of how you shift investment away from ineffective approaches and into community-based responses.
Run out of time. Somebody else want to donate a minute to him? What's your name?
Wonderful.
I'm sorry? Okay. Could you come down to the clerk to make sure she has your name? Go ahead. One more minute.
Sure. And finally, you have the power to join an emerging movement of cities across this country that for the first time is standing up and saying that we're going to hold the line and we're going to demand an accountable police department with the hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars that you are spending on this department. Citizens deserve nothing less. You can actually join a movement that started with San Antonio, where for the first time you had a non-unanimous vote on a police union contract reauthorization. You have cities like Portland, where they actually successfully removed provisions in the contract that established that 48-hour rule, that delay in actually getting to the truth of what's happening in an incident of misconduct. They removed that because they were serious about accountability. You're seeing in cities like Chicago now, where the city council, the board of aldermen, has said that they will not vote to approve a contract unless all of the types of provisions that are problematic are removed. And here you have Austin, where you can actually go much further and be a leader in this country for police accountability, for standing up for the most marginalized and impacted citizens and demanding an investment in what works. Thank you.